This is Women for Gun Rights with your host, Amanda Suffecool, part of the DCProject.
So, hey folks, welcome to Women for Gun Rights. Man, it has been a day already, and I am so excited to introduce to you a mover and a shaker that is doing amazing, absolutely amazing things. You know, as we do this show every week, that we bring you different amazing women. And some of them have gotten up to speed so quickly that I cannot even imagine where they're going to go next. And Cindy Zumwalt is one of those people. You wait till you hear her story and you are going to be so absolutely impressed and amazed. So Cindy, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Amanda. I'm so excited to be here today.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be informative, and people are gonna get to meet you. And let me tell you, it is an absolute pleasure. So the thing that, you are the Utah State Director for the DCProject. So how did you go? I mean, we're gonna lead through this. How did you go from being anti-gun in mid-2019 to leading a women's organization for gun rights by 2021? I mean, that is such a quick spin. So let's start with, give me your backstory, give me your history, the path that got you to where you put your first gun in your hand.
Well, I actually was brought up to be anti-gun. My father was a military in the Air Force, came from back east, and we were taught that guns were a bad thing. Guns were bad. They were there to kill people. They were there to put your eye out, even on a BB gun. We weren't even allowed to have BB guns. I grew up this way. This is what I was taught. And so this is how I raised my children. My boys got older and they wanted to start having guns or airsoft guns. And I'm like, okay, but we need to buy a gun safe. I mean, that's how I was so afraid of them, because I thought they're going to put their eye out with it. Mm-hmm. Long story short, I had the opportunity of being stalked. And I call it an opportunity because it changed my life. It didn't just change my life. It also changed my family's life as well. I was in a grocery store, and it was Christmas Eve. And I was walking around trying to get the last minute things that you need on Christmas Eve. And there was this gentleman, and I call him a gentleman, but this gentleman, he was right, wasn't. Exactly. But he was walking around and following me. And I'm like, this is weird. So I called my husband and I said, I am being stalked and I'm being followed throughout the grocery store. He's like, you're at a grocery store. Everybody's going up and down the aisles. I said, no, this guy is actually following me. And so I started doing little kind of tricks, going down this aisle, skipping 3 aisles, going down this aisle. And sure enough, he was following me wherever I was going. I felt worried enough that I needed to talk to the clerk as I was checking out. And I asked for assistance as I was walking out the store. So as I checked out and walking out in one direction, with my cart and groceries, this gentleman is actually walking, or this guy is walking out the other direction. He doesn't have any groceries. So he was there preying on me. I started talking to the gentleman that was assisting me out the grocery store. Mm-hmm. And as soon as he realized I was talking to somebody, he darted right behind me, and I don't know whatever happened to him. I was luckily able to get to my car. I got in my car, got safe. I called my husband. I said, now what do? I can't take him home with me. I don't know what he's driving. And so my husband's like, well, just come home. And I'm like, no, I can't. I cannot take him home with me. That was a fear that I had. Mm-hmm. Not being the best neighbor, I drove around and stopped at other people's homes and sat in front of their houses for a few minutes and just trying to divert him from following me home. Mm-hmm. My husband then was like, you need a gun. I said, no, I don't. I don't want a gun. I don't need one. It's not a safety thing for me. And he kept pursuing the fact that I needed a gun. So for my birthday, he got me a SIG 365.
Okay.
And I was kind of upset. I'm like, why did you buy me a gun? And he's like, you need it. You need to be safe. You need to be able to have a concealed carry weapon to carry with you in the event that this happens again. So I tried to rack it, not knowing what I'm doing, and I couldn't rack it. I tried to load the ammunition into the cartridge. Couldn't do that either. And I was like, you just got me a device to kill me, that I'm just going to get killed. If I try to use this, I'm going to get killed. So he felt bad. So then he heard that there's another gun out there that was called the EZ, and he thought that would be better for me. So he went and bought me the EZ, and I could rack that one and I could load that one. And so now I'm thinking, man, he's going and spending all this money on making sure that I'm safe. I should probably do something about this. So I found a girl and a gun, trying to find a shooting opportunity where I can learn to shoot in a non-intimidating atmosphere, mm-hmm. and to be taught by other women. And so I found a girl and a gun. I signed up without even attending one of their meetings or events, and showed up and said, I'm here to learn how to shoot a gun.
That's it. That is amazing. That is an amazing story. Because your story is a lot of women's stories. We're just going through our lives, fat, dumb, and happy, until something wakes us up. Something says, this could have been me, this could have been bad, this could have been whatever, and I'm going to need to change my behavior. And so I am glad that the event that caused you this awakening was as Kathy Jackson puts it, it's the day that nothing happened. In the end, there was no cataclysmic end. There was no, crescendo. There was no traumatized. But it changed your view of safety, and it changed your view of your responsibility to yourself and to your family. And so that it's just pretty darn amazing. So so you joined A Girl and a Gun, and so how is that? I mean, going from I have a gun that my husband bought me to signing up to going on your own, none of your girlfriends, to a meeting where you're going to learn how to shoot, and you're slightly intimidated.
Although it was still all women, I was a little intimidated still to go. Well, and still nervous and scared of a firearm and how to operate it, the sound, just being around other women or other firearms was scary to me. And so I would go, and there were days I would be like, I'm not going to go. I'd talk myself out of going, because it was like, it was something I had to face, a fear. Mm-hmm. Because actually what I started realizing is I actually had a fear of firearms. And I had to face that fear every single time I went to an event. And it took me about 4 or 5 months. And then I'm like, was recuperating from shoulder surgery, and I'm laying in bed and I'm thinking about everything that's going on, and I thought, I need to make sure that I'm advancing in my firearms training. I need to get better at this. I need to empower myself, because I still need to be able to be my first responder. I need to be the first responder. And so I decided to sign up for conference. And
okay, so tell everybody what conference is, because if you don't speak A Girl and a Gun speak, you've never, there's conferences everywhere. But if you speak right. A Girl and a Gun speak, there is only one conference.
Exactly. So conference is a Girl and a Gun offers a national conference once a year. And it's like from Thursday through Sunday with some of the best instructors there. And it's all women, and it's amazing. At the time, I just was told, hey, you could go, you get some really good, training. And I did not know what I was signing up for. it was the best time of my life. I was shooting out of car windows and under cars and through cars, and I was just amazed at the progress that I had made from going from not wanting to hold a gun to being able to do that. And I was facing my fears. I started to believe if I don't try, I can't get better.
Exactly. And that's it. And the only person holding you back is you. And so,
exactly.
So what year was conference? Was it 2020 or 2021 that you went
2021.
2021.
So
okay.
I did not sign up for a Girl and a Gun until August of 2020.
Okay. So 2019, you have a stalker. 2020, you joined a Girl and a Gun. 2021, you go to conference. But then it's zooming along because conference is in the spring. And then by October, you are the state leader for the DCProject. So how did that happen? I mean, you can't go from anti-gun to leading one of the fastest growing women's organizations in 2 years. Well, you can because you did, but that's
right.
amazing.
So as I found my new empowerment and found that I was able to be my own first responder, and I started to want to empower other women as well. And I also found that I didn't want to lose my Second Amendment right. Now, with the administration change, that was really scary to me. And so I continued to continue my training and continue going to a Girl and a Gun and continue trying to work with other women to help empower them. Robin Sandoval, who is the regional director for the DCProject, she reached out to me and asked if I could or be willing to be the DCProject Utah State District Leader or Director. Sorry,
State Director. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I thought, why me? That was my question. Why did me? And she said she could see the potential that I had, and she could see the passion that I had and what I was already sharing with other women, and she thought that I would be a great asset to the DCProject.
Mm-hmm. And I think she was spot on, absolutely spot on. So this year, 2021, still this year, you took your girls to the Utah State House for a trip, right? So
yes.
fill us in on that.
So back in October, I'm going to back up for just a minute. I was able to go to the DC Project Summit, where we had all of us 50 ladies come in and be trained for the DCProject. And somebody once, while we were there, mentioned that the December 15th was the day that the Second Amendment was ratified. And I thought, I'm new. I don't have a following. I don't have any state delegates. But I still felt like I needed to do something for 2021. And at that time, I wrote in my notebook, we are going to the Capitol. We're going to go to the Capitol in Utah in December. And I don't have any delegates or any following at this point, but we're going to do this. And my goal was December 15th, that we would go and I would have 5 women attend with me. So we went. This time we had 8 women, and we would have had more actually. Unfortunately, we had a pretty bad snowstorm that night and that morning. It quit snowing probably about 8:30 that day, and we were meeting at noon. Roads were horrible. We had some people that were sick, and of course it's in the middle of the week. It's on a Wednesday at 12 o'clock in the afternoon following a snowstorm. But we were lucky enough to have 8 of our ladies there. Uh-huh. We also had 5 other patriots that believed in the Second Amendment and wanted to support us. Plus we had 2 children. And we were lucky enough to have one of our legislators be there, Representative Jordan Tushner.
Okay.
Hope I pronounced his name right. He came and he spoke to us and was very impressed with the DC project. He then actually posted on his Facebook page that he attended our event and what a great program that the DC project is.
Nice, nice, nice. So, okay, so how did you get these gals, and how did you get it coordinated, and what did you do when you went to the Capitol?
So as I started, there was a state director previously, and so there was a little bit of DC project information out there for the state of Utah. And so some people had signed up. So I contacted all those that had asked to get information about the DC project from Utah. And so I contacted them and have met some of the most wonderful ladies. I've got, and plus through Girl in a Gun, I had a connection there. So that's where I started right off the bat, was with my state director. As soon as I was at Summit learning about state director assistants, I just knew right off the bat that I wanted Tracy Schooley to be my assistant. So I called her while I was at Summit. I said, I need you as my assistant. She was reluctant to take it, but she did it because she wanted to support me. And she also is a big Second Amendment advocate as well, and has already been contacting her legislators, both on a local and a federal level. So she's been a great asset to me and to the Utah DC project as well. Michelle Camp was also one of the ladies that decided that she wanted to be part of the DC project. So I reached out with her, and she is, I think she's on the advisory board, if I'm saying this correctly, of the Armed Women of America. And she had a great following as well because of being in her position that she is. She also has a friend of hers is Connie Peterson, and they are both with the Armed Women of America and have already been working with our state legislators here in Utah on a Second Amendment rights. And so they have a lot of contacts and have the relationship with a lot of our legislators already. So that's been very helpful.
Nice, nice. So, so what are there any new legislation that's coming through Utah that is either pro-gun or anti-gun that you guys are talking to them about?
So yesterday, it was Tuesday, we had 4 of us also went to the Capitol to meet with our representative, Corey Malloy. He's from the 6th District in Utah. And so we had the opportunity to meet with him and talk with him about any upcoming legislation that he has. He has 2 bills that he's introducing. One is going to be on the preemption, trying to make sure that Utah regulates all of our gun laws. We already have that bill is in place, or that, however, there's no backing to it. And so this one has a little bit more teeth in it to make sure that there is some consequences for some of these city municipalities and counties that have came in and found loopholes into our into the state regulating the firearms rules and regulations in Utah. He also has another bill that's in draft right now that I just don't even understand how this situation is even possible, that he would have to create this bill for it. It was a off-duty police officer who got pulled over for DUI, did not have his firearms with him, but ended up with getting a federal firearms charge. I don't understand how you can get a charge for a firearm when you didn't even have your firearm with you. So he's got this bill to introduce to separate that, so that if you ever do get into a situation like that, you're not going to end up with having a firearms charge when you're not carrying your firearm. So, his thought was, if he was using his firearm, he should have a federal offense, a felony offense for that. but not just for getting a DUI when you do not have your firearm with you.
Right. The DUI charges should stand on their own. I mean, and the punishment should be whatever the punishment is, but you don't pile on others for things you didn't do.
Right, exactly. And I just don't even see how that's even possible, or why they would even have that. And then we also have another bill that's being introduced to help loosen some of the regulations for those that are maybe have ADHD and are medicated. Currently, with our concealed carry permits, they cannot carry a gun legally if they're taking a controlled medication like Ritalin or Adderall or whatever type of medication that they may be on. So Representative Tusher, he has got a bill to help loosen some of that, because it's really sad for people that may not actually be treated for a condition that they might have, and fear that they would lose their privilege to be able to carry a firearm.
Right, and you hear those kinds of stories where people select or elect that I'm not going to be treated for this, or I'm not going to go here. I mean, you hear a lot of it about the mental health, where they're like, I'll just rather not be treated, and it's like, that's not how these laws should be and are written, and they're typically adjudicated against your will, as opposed to you seeking counseling or advice or help, or in this case, medication. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, it's amazing to me how quickly you've gotten up to speed and how involved you are in the Second Amendment. And I understand that you're now starting to be a training junkie, and that you're going and taking a variety of different trainings. So you are an instructor and an RSO, or you are an RSO and you're continuing on?
I am currently an RSO through the NRA, and in January, the first week of January, I will be doing the USCCA instructor training course.
Okay, so where are you taking that at? In a different state or in your state?
In my state,
Okay.
Michelle Camp and Connie Peterson, who are my state delegates, they are actually trainers, and they will be hosting this training, instructor training course, and so I signed up to take it with them.
Nice. Yeah, that is great. I personally have a goal that I go to at minimum one new training course a year for firearms. And when I set the goal for one, it's generally 3, maybe 4 by the time I hit the end of the year. Because there's so many really good instructors and so many really good courses. And then you look at some of the instructors and they're getting a little, dare I say, long in the tooth. And it's like, they're on my bucket list and I don't want anything to happen to them before I get to take the class. So I'm trying to tick down through them and just make sure that I get to hit what I need to hit. So then, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm also stepping again out of my comfort zone and taking the ladies hunting camp in Arizona this spring as well.
I saw that you are going to take it along with Kelly Pigeon, who is the regional director for Region 1 and the Pennsylvania State delegate. And so she's been saying that Cindy and I are going to have a grand old time. Who else wants to join us? So she's trying to make it a big old party. So
yes, I'm excited. I'm excited to actually be going with her, because she is one of the mentors that I want to make sure that I'm spending lots of time with.
She is amazing. So so have you taken you've not hunted, so prior to hunting camp, do you have to get your hunting license, or is that part of it?
I don't believe we need to have our hunting license. We are just mostly doing training. I don't think we're going to actually be hunting any animals. Mm-hmm. I know they will be bringing in some animals, or at least one, so that way we could do from field to table and get the whole experience. Mm-hmm. But I don't believe that we have to have our hunting license.
Okay, because I want to do that also, and I have not yet taken hunter safety, though I've had oodles of opportunities to do that. I just haven't done it, and it's got to be on my list. It's definitely got to be on my list. So you're also in continuing with training. You're going to go to a Girl and a Gun conference again. So you've signed up when they had the speedy run on signing up for conference, because I know that it opens and then it sells out in such a short period of time.
Yes, so because I attended conference last year, or this year actually in 2021, I was able to be one of the lucky ones to register in the early registration. And I knew the minute that I was at conference that I would be attending this next year as well. And so I made sure to put my dollars away to get registered, and it was kind of fun and frustrating at the same time trying to get registered because there were so many women trying to register. We actually killed the website, and they had to go in and do some finagling to get it to work again. But it was fun to just, the excitement of just registering for conference was just a lot of fun.
Right, because
I look forward.
She opens it like at 10 o'clock at night on West Coast time or something, so I know everybody stays up into the middle of the night so they can register for classes.
Yes, and I look forward to what the catalog's going to come out and let us know what classes we can take and what instructors are going to be there. There's just so much to learn at conference. And it's not just firearms training. There's situational awareness. You can learn how to use pepper spray, the palm pepper spray. You can learn low light situations, or how to react when you're faced with certain situations. You can do archery, you can do rifle, you can do pistol. There's so many things you could do at conference, and it's just amazing to have. I think this year we're going to have 450 women, I think.
I know, isn't that amazing?
Yeah, just attending. That doesn't include any of the instructors that are going to be there as well. And so it's pretty amazing just to be in that sisterhood.
Oh, yeah, and she draws from, Juliana and Robin, so A Girl and a Gun Corporate, they draw from instructors all over the country. I believe that Shelley Hill from The Complete Combatant and is going to be there also. So it's always fun watching who's lining up to be the instructors and then what they're teaching, because it's so dynamic. It really is. So you have not yet been to Capitol Hill.
I have not, but I look forward to this spring.
I'm telling you, I'm waiting to see what the dates are to see if I can make it. And I'm going to be in mourning if I can't. So yeah, there were 3 potential dates. Not that I can share any of them, and one of them I definitely cannot. My work life conflicts, and I cannot attend. And so my fingers are crossed that one is off the table, because I have been to everyone since the DCProject started in 2015, and it is truly like going to summer camp with your heroes. You watch these women and the things that they do and the abilities that they have, and it is just absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. So, I understand that as you got more involved in the Second Amendment, your personal politics have kind of shifted and changed. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes. Sorry. I grew up in a home, like I said, that was anti-gun. My late father, that's why I'm emotional, I apologize, but my late father, the wonderful man that he was, politics was very important in his life. And more so on a particular party, and that was the Democratic Party. And he would make sure that we voted Democrat. He would fill out our ballot forms if we didn't fill them out. And he would make sure that that we were voting in the way he felt it was fit to vote.
Okay. So guidance and advice from on high. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Okay. And so through the rest of, the last part of his life, I would call my father up, and as soon as he'd start talking politics with me, I'd be like, Dad, I gotta go. And he's like, I know, I'm talking politics now. And I'm like, yeah, sorry, but I don't do politics. I do not talk politics. I don't like politics. I don't have anything to do with politics. I've actually, and then I wouldn't always agree with what he said. And so that's why I decided, I'm like, I'm not going to talk to him because it would end up being, into fights. And then I've seen actually where, my own family members would actually end up fighting over the politics, because they didn't agree with each other. And so to me, it was just easier not to talk about it because I didn't really want to get in any arguments or any confrontations. But I started realizing I felt and thought differently than my father did. And I realized that I wasn't a Democrat. I am actually registered independent. But I lean more to the Republican side now because of the strong Second Amendment advocates that are more Republican than they are Democrats. And with our current administration right now, that was what really has scared me. I am not a Trump fan. And maybe I shouldn't say that, but I'm not, and I never was. But when it came time to voting this time, and I didn't vote for Trump in 2016, I actually voted independent on that election. But as it came time to vote for this last election, I realized what our choices were. And I said, I can't even vote independent because I cannot allow any extra ways for Biden to get elected. And so I actually voted for Trump this time. And I'm sad that our current administration is what it is today. But I'm now feeling strong enough that I need to reach out to my legislators and make sure that they are doing what they can and how they are voting and making sure that they understand what bills and what they are voting on, and making sure that it's that the Second Amendment policies are being protected.
And that is a good stand. I mean, you can be a single issue voter, if you will. I mean, there is one issue, and that you're working to protect that issue, and people have to respect that position. And you can, as you vet the candidates that are both on the state level and on the national level, you can find out their opinions of where they stand. And I'm going to say that there are some Democrats on the state and local level specifically who are pro-gun, yet in the Democratic Party. As you get higher up in the levels, they follow the Democratic platform, which is decidedly anti-gun. And so that's where you can end up with conversations and arguments about the fact that, well, I'm a Democrat and I'm in favor of the Second Amendment. Well, there are people who are like that. It's just as we start to get higher up in the national levels, it becomes harder. That's one of the interesting things about the DCProject is the fact that each of us has our own political opinions, yet the organization is nonpartisan, which means it's extremely welcoming to all parties, whether they're the Green Party, the Independent Party, the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, as long as the single issue of the Second Amendment is the issue that's on the table and the issue that is being educated and discussed. But I always think it's interesting to watch somebody's journey. My father, on the other hand, was as staunchly a Republican as yours was a Democrat. And I came out of college and registered as a Democrat because I wanted to vote for somebody that I'd met in college. And I thought the top of my dad's head was going to blow off as he was as he was pressurizing, because he couldn't believe that. So it's always interesting to watch the dynamics and how they go and where people assimilate to. So so what's your goal for the DC project for the next year? Because I'm going to say that in the period of time that you've taken control of Utah and the DC project, you've made such huge inroads. What do you have on the docket? What are you planning to do? What are you gonna do or show or grow or tell us about?
Well, currently we have, with myself, I believe I have 11 delegates, or 10 delegates and then myself. My goal is to have a state delegate in each district. Utah has 75 districts. So okay. I have a lot of work ahead of me. Right. Utah's a big state, and so I've got to get the word out. I just need to keep making traction and getting the DC Project's name out there. My goal is to meet with as many of our legislators that we can. Mm-hmm. Currently, because of the fact that we only have 11 of us, and we have 75 district with 75, we are going to split up the delegates are going to split up and take extra districts until we start filling those districts in. Mm-hmm. As I met with our legislators, I've asked them how we can help them. So they've actually given me some other ideas of not just reaching out to our legislators, but also to the city and the county councils, because apparently those have been a deciding factor in some of our legislation. And then also some of the organizations that go along with the police association, making sure that they're on top of these certain bills, and that if there is any problems that they're having with them, that they can reach out to our legislators. And they've actually gone in and taken out some of the verbiage from some of the bills, just so they can make sure that they're reaching out to people and making sure that the Second Amendment is being protected in these bills. I also have a plan. We have a big event in Utah coming up in May. I believe they're thinking it's going to be this year. Okay. It's called Shootah, and it's a kind of a fun event with all different kinds of firearms there. And last year I attended, and I was able to shoot an M1919 out of the back of a truck, and I was the first shot of the day, and was able to shoot a 50 cal rifle for my 50th birthday.
Those are neat. Those are neat things.
So we're going to actually have a booth at the Shootah event this year, so we can bring more people to be aware of the DC Project and try to recruit more state delegates, so if we can fill these districts. I have some great fundraising ideas I'd like to do to help raise money for the DC Project, since we are not $1 million nonprofit organization like our counter, the Mothers Demand Action, those that we try to be a counter voice and counteract. That they have. We don't have that in the DC Project. And so I like to do my part to raise some money so that we can continue educating and training and promoting the DC Project and making sure that we are protecting our Second Amendment.
Well, and that makes sense, because the money is used for the trips to DC to be able to meet with the legislators. And when you look at trying to move 50 women from across the country, if you're in Virginia, it's not that big of a deal. If you're in Hawaii or Alaska or California, it's a trek, and it's a trip, and there's some expense there, plus housing everybody in DC. So the DC Project works to raise money to be able to pick up those costs, so that the girls are already leaving their jobs, leaving their families, leaving home to do it, and they shouldn't have to, and currently they shouldn't have to pay for the privilege of going to defend the Second Amendment for everyone. And so if everybody can chip in a little bit, then the girls can use their time and and the donations help offset that. So it's a good thing. So has your legislators talked to you at all about, is your state doing any redistricting after the census? I'm hearing that a lot of states are, and that it's really stirred up the state representatives and the state senators. What has Utah lost anybody, gained anybody? Where are they in the static? Do you know?
I know that we just redistrict, or we're redistricting right now. I know Jordan Tushner, he was in a district, and now we just lost him. He was in my district, and now we just lost him. He's moved to, his district boundaries changed. I want to believe, and excuse me, but I don't know this for sure, but I do believe that we actually got an extra district this year.
Okay, so you got an extra congressman, because the state of Ohio lost one, and so they had to go somewhere, right? I mean, because there are a specific number of congressmen, and so if the population in your state grows and the population in my state decreases, these congressmen, I mean, they don't specifically move around because that guy's out and a new guy comes in, but the seat is now open in another state. And so it's interesting watching, and that really kind of stirs things around. So you say that you've attended the Utah Federation of Republican Women's Luncheons. So are the Utah senators and the Utah congressmen, are they active in that? Do you get to meet quite a few, or?
Well, I just attended their luncheon this past week, and it was to meet the candidates for our Senate. And our current senator is Mike Lee. And so two of his opposing candidates were there. Unfortunately, Mike Lee was not able to be there, but he did send a representative. So it was kind of nice to be able to kind of hear from these new candidates that are coming in and looking for our votes. Unfortunately, one of them was not willing to answer questions and kind of bailed as soon as she was, as soon as the event was done. But I did make sure to take advantage of meeting with one of the other candidates and walked right up to her and said, "Hi, my name is Cindy. I'm the DCProject State Director for Utah, and I'm a Second Amendment advocate. I want to know what your stance is on the Second Amendment." She handed me her phone, said, "Type in your name and number, and I'm going to get you in contact with the person that does my scheduling." So I'm like, "Great, but now I have your cell phone number."
Yeah, there you go. That works. I mean, and it's interesting once they start to communicate. It takes a little bravery in the beginning to do that initial walk up. "Hi, I'm Cindy, and this is who I am, and this is what I care about." But you'll start to find out that they want very much to know who cares about what within the state. And that helps them at the same time. So as long as their answers are acceptable and they head in the direction that you're looking for, because the ones that don't, they'll take your information and you'll never hear from them again. Because then they'll put you on the bleep, "Don't answer this call from her" list.
Right. Utah actually has a Second Amendment Day at our state capitol.
Nice.
And so they've actually, invite everybody up. And so we're going to walk the Capitol. That's another thing we're going to do as a DC project. And we're going to walk the Capitol, and we're going to meet and make sure that we're starting to get our face in front of these legislators and get our name in front of them. Because the emails, you can tend to get their form letters back. But if they can start making a personal attachment, they can see my face, they know my name, we've had a conversation in person. Now we're having, a personal dialogue together, and I think we're going to get better reception from them as if we can do that than by just emailing them.
Yeah, I agree with that. That makes so much sense. So does Utah have a state Second Amendment organization? So that, like Ohio has Buckeye Firearms, And Connecticut has Connecticut Citizens Defense League, you know, those types of things. Is a Utah specific organization?
Yes, we do have a Utah Shooters Association.
Okay.
Um, and then we also have another one that's called Utah. Shoot, I just forgot the name. Utah Shooting Sports Council.
Okay. So, because those organizations typically then have events that you may want to, well, how is your public speaking skills? Because that'll be the next thing, is whether it's you or one of your gals that you have an opportunity to represent the DC Project in those organizations and do some public speaking. It's terrifying the very first time, and then it gets old hat right after that. But the first time is kind of
I'm working on my public speaking skills, but I do have some wonderful ladies that are my state delegates that will be filling in some of those roles.
So the easy thing then is to get them to where you do it to where there's two of you up on the stage, so that you start to get comfortable, and they already are, and so you can step back and forth, and they can help take the training wheels off, and that you're riding that two-wheeler all on your own.
Yes, and that is a goal that I have as I continue my journey.
It is amazing to me. I cannot imagine what your goal list looks like, because you are just knocking it out of the park. So, is there anything else that you would like our listeners to know about you, about Utah, about the DC Project, about where you're going, as we get close to wrapping up here?
I'd like to just make sure that with the holidays coming, there's going to be a lot of firearm purchases, a lot of firearm gifts. I just hope that people will take the time to be educated, to make sure that they're taking the training to learn how a firearm actually functions, take it apart, learn the components and all the pieces that make up a firearm. And just making sure that you're learning the basic safeties of a firearm. And so many people, they're used to having a firearm, and they get very complacent, and their safety kind of will go out the window. And if it's just so important to continue training, with the DC Project, we say education is the key to safety. And that's actually a true statement coming out of my mouth as well, because I really feel that we need to continue our education and continue our training, so that we continue to be safe and be responsible citizens that own firearms.
Oh, that is great advice. I tell all of my classes that I come and you come with all your fingers and toes and no extra holes, and I want you to go home that way. And it's sort of, think about it, and think about your firearm every time prior to touching it, so that you know where it's aiming, what you're doing, and you get in the habit of pausing and thinking, as opposed to, like, we get familiar with our guns the same way we're familiar with our cell phones. And we actually pick our cell phones up and we're checking it and scrolling social media or scrolling to see if someone's texted us before we really even think about the fact that it's in our hand and this is what we're doing. So you can't get that comfortable with your gun. You have to think about it prior to. So safety is never wasted, and it is always time well spent.
Exactly.
Okay, well, we're going to wrap up here. So, folks, thanks for tuning in for Women for Gun Rights, hosted by the DC Project. And I am so pleased and proud to have brought you Cindy Zumwalt, because, as you can see, look at what she's accomplished in this short period of time, and imagine what she's going to accomplish in, let's say, the next 5 years. I see big things, and I see really big things from Cindy, and so it's going to be fun to watch. So you watch, I'll watch, and we'll see you next week with another level of the DC Project.
Thank you.
This is Women for Gun Rights with your host, Amanda Suffecool, part of the DC Project.